I love looking at and breaking down top winning deck lists from official Dragon Ball Super Fusion World events, and today we're doing just that. We're looking at the top 16 winning leaders and deck lists in the most recent Melbourne Regionals. Shout out to Eggman and his website Event Tracker for these deck lists. With that, let's break down the leader usage chart. We have one Son Gohan, one Vegeta, two Zamasu fused, and two Beerus. And then obviously we have the 5 Android 17s or Android package and your dominating 5 Friezas. And with that, we'll be looking at the best placing deck lists for each of these leaders, starting with Gohan. Now, right off the bat, this deck list that placed 14 out of top 16 has its staple 1-drops. You have your Gokus who draw, your Son Gohans who search for you, but now you have some new 1-drops, your Kamis that are really good at removing other opposing 1-drops, and it provides 10k combo, as well as your Chi-Chi, which can help you find all of your childhood Gohans, as well as your Son Gokus, including your 5-drop Selku. But some other cards in this deck that make it really fascinating is, for example, this 3-drop Son Goku, which is literally the only card in Green's arsenal because no other leader can use this ability effectively. It only allows Son Gohan to deal with yellow, currently the most dominant color group in the game, that in green, right? But yellow's SR Vegeta, where you can play this card, you can swing with it, you can do whatever you want, and then you could just send any of your opponent's cost 5 or less cards to their energy in rest mode. And then you could add this card into your energy into rest mode. So yes, you help your opponent's ramp, then you also can ramp yourself. And this is really good into yellow, not so much into green, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Other cards that I really like is this future Son Gohan and future Trunks package, where on turn 5, if you have at least 5 energy, you could play this, and then at the end of your turn, you could bring your Trunks to the field and then instantaneously send the top card of your deck into your energy, and now the next turn, you'll be able to start in charge and go straight to 7 energy. Really like that. And we already talked about Chi-Chi for a bit, but I really want to bring out the point that this Chi-Chi is so good. She can't bring your Son Gohan from the future, only childhood, but she can bring you the secret rare Son Gohan if you need a full board wipe, or your double striker for this deck list. And honestly, this one makes so much sense. Yeah, it's not a 40k body like the double androids, and yes, it can't remove 2-3 drops or less. And yes, it's only a double striker if you have a Son Goku in your drop, but like, look how many we have. We have this one, this one, this one. I mean, you can probably do it, especially with Chi-Chi. But on top of that, it provides you 10k combo, which I think is definitely underrated. Very happy for this. We also have 1 cell to help you blow up 2 bodies and even adds to life if you need it late in the game. We have 4 Brolys because, you know, big boss units, but as well as 3 earth destroying blows. Nothing too crazy here. As well as 4 destructive strength, which is what I wanted to talk about earlier. Like if you're going into green, then you're probably not going to want to use this on turn 3 to ramp yourself or remove a card or anything like that. You'll probably want to go with destructive strength. However, if you're going into yellow, then you'll probably want this instead. Also, real quick, another thing to mention is if you wipe the opponent's side of the board, right, and they have no cards, you can still play this and ramp yourself on turn 3, even though you don't remove, because it says here, then add this card to your energy in rest mode. So if you can't do it, it's okay. You can still do that second portion. I've definitely done that in game, and I'm pretty sure that's how it's meant to play. So yeah, into green, you'll probably want your destructive strength so you can ramp. Into yellow, you'll want your Son Gokus. Into red, you'll probably want your Son Gohan childhood secret rare to just full board rewipe. And honestly, everything else works to optimize this deck and its leader. And I personally hope Son Gohan gets a little bit buffed in the future, especially in set 3 cards. But now let's move on to the next deck list, and that's going to be Vegeta, the top 9. This one placed 9. And the staples we have are obviously Zamasu. We have Pilaf Engine, which I think this is what's really making Blue so good, as well as their whole control package. But Pilaf is just so insane. I don't think they're ever going to touch Pilaf. I think it was meant to pull itself over and over again and provide 10k combo. In fact, I personally hope we get more cards like this. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but it is what it is. We also have our double strikers and our sinister sickles, our board clear Zenos, as well as a couple absolutes here to control the match entirely. But now some of the new cards in this deck that make it very interesting and I'm very excited to talk about, let's go right into it, is we have our 3-drop Vegeta, where if you know, if you have 7 or fewer cards, reduce the cost of every card by 1, right? So let's pretend your opponents have a, 6-drop on the board, a double striker, and you play this at like 6 or 7 energy, doesn't matter how much you have, or you already have this guy on the field. So now they're playing a card at 5, right? And then you play something like your Mai, which also further reduces it. Well, now that 6-drop is down to 4, and that's just with these 2 cards. Guess what? You play your Sinister Sickle, and now you get the bottom deck up to like 6-drop, maybe even 7. Like it's actually pretty nuts, this strategy. And I think that's the flexibility. I was honestly very surprised to see Sinister Sickle anymore, with Topku just entirely being neutered, right? No one's really that worried about an entire board of cards. At least I don't think. I mean, other leaders can definitely still do it, but I don't think it's as oppressive as Topku was, as it was in the first half of the meta. But I really like how these 3 cards synergize really well with each other, and they provide so much value. But on top of that, you can go pretty aggro with your leader's ability, right? This becomes a 35k body, but guess what? You play something like your Bulma, and now it becomes a 45k body. Oh, and then combo with your Bulma, now it's a 55k body. It's actually insane. But that's not all. Bulma's an Earthling, so you can pull her with Pilaf and just get that whole loop going, which is why I think this deck is really good for controlling and pressuring opponents into wasting extremely valuable cards that they might have. And now I guess that's going to take us right into top 8 with Zamasu here. Like I said, there were only 2 Zamasus, and I'm glad I'm starting to see more Zamasus. I was worried about this guy, brand new leader. He's getting no play, right? But he's got his staple, his one drop Zamasu. You got your Pilafs here, and also we just talked about this Mai Vegito Sinister Sickle engine. So of course it's got that. But on top of that, something that I think is very fascinating for this deck is that it's running the 6-drop Goku Black, which by itself it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. It's a big body for 6, but it also synergizes with your 4-drop Zamasu Fused, where if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, you can draw. Now, why is this good? Well, your leader doesn't draw, right? It is a 25k body, but like it doesn't draw. All it does is like for 1 energy, discard a card from your hand, and if your life is at 2, you can add the top card from your deck to your life. So essentially, it does draw, but like super delayed, and it's at the cost of like energy and discarding card. It's really not that great. It's only good for like preserving yourself, right? But the fact that this deck has that and it synergizes so well and still allows you to draw, as well as other cards that allow you to draw, and of course your Pilaf loop, I think makes this a really strong control deck that's meant to pressure late into the game. We also have 4 Zenos to help you reset the boards that aren't optimal for this Zamasu deck list, while letting the leader rebuild his life with the Awakened ability when you need to. A leader that I definitely hope to see more of in future official events. But yeah, with that, we are finally in the top 8 deck lists, bringing us to the number 6 spot with Beerus, and this one is unique to say the least, because the deck that got top 8 isn't a conventional build. Like, look at it. When you look at this, it kind of just feels like a lot of things are happening. I've never needed to scroll this far down into a deck list, right? But I think the reason for this deck is that it has cards for every potential matchup, right? Like you see this 1 copy of Whis, 1 copy of the 3-drop Draw Kefla, 1 copy of the Policeman, what's his name? Kato Pesla, right? I'm always pronouncing that wrong. As well as a few more 1 copies, right? Let's look at let's see here, the God of Destruction, Helis. We also have the 1 promo copy of the Son Gohan that becomes a 40k body, which makes me think this deck was extremely well crafted to have an answer to pretty much everything. So I'm not knocking this deck down. In fact, I really like it. It's got a bunch of damage reducing cards like, Fuwa, your Hit, your Son Gohan, as well as 2 Frosts that I'm imagining is meant to counter yellow in these official tournaments. But honestly, all in all, this deck is probably the one I'm more surprised and interested about, especially with seeing how well it did. Like, it's number 6 out of top 16. It did really well. I think it went 6-2, which is really, really good. Which now brings us to the top 2. And yup, it's androids in second place. Deck's pretty, standard. You have your android cards. You also have your cells, your cell juniors to help you bring back your gigantic meteors, as well as the secret sauce, your 4 copies of your 4-drop double androids. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this one because I literally just made a video breaking down the entire android deck meta. So if you want to learn more about android decks and how to run them and an entire guide, well, check out this video right here if you want a full breakdown. But with that, I'm definitely not surprised to see it as a top 2 finisher, which brings us to the winning deck lists, and that's Frieza. And I've got to admit it, I honestly think I was wrong when I counted the Ginyu package out, you guys. I guess you can definitely make it work to the point where you win an entire regional. Now, before you guys chew me up in the comments, like I said, I'll be the first to admit it. I was wrong. Ginyu is still really, really, really good. But the staples in this deck are your 1-drops to help you build up that Frieza army early on, and that's probably where I was messing up. I was not counting on these. I was counting on, my Earthlings, the ones not saying Frieza army, which is why the Ginyu package is still very good. But what makes this deck so good to me is probably the SR Vegeta and the SR Bulma, because by turn 3 you can literally self-awaken your Frieza, and on top of that your Vegeta protects all of your rested cards, which you might be wondering, well then what the heck do I do with my Frieza's ability to restand 2 cards? Well, you could still use that on cards like, Cooler, your 4-drop Cooler, or more importantly your Bulma, right? Because she has a activate battle effect where you can draw a card during your opponent's turn or rest one of their active 4-drop or less cards. Very pesky to deal with, and it provides you a ton of value, which is why yellow is giving green a run for their money. That and the 6-drop secret rare golden Frieza that just makes every green deck obsolete. Like, if you're going against green and you're able to get this out onto the field or even have it in your hand early on, well then you're definitely going to want to use it, especially in conjunction with your SR Vegeta. This deck is nuts. Another card that I think is very important to mention is the 4-drop Son Goku, which I think is the most valuable card in yellow right now. That and, the SR Vegeta. But after reflecting on this entire deck list and looking further into it, I think I finally figured out why it placed number 1. And it's got to be because of this single nail right here. The single nail super combo. I mean, what a flex. But no, seriously, yellow is looking really good into the second half of the meta, and I'm extremely excited to see what future official events bring us in terms of winning deck lists. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more quality Dragon Ball Super Fusion World content.